We are live. Okay, it is 4:16. So our objective is we are going to add or subtract rational expressions. So again, rational, that's a fancy word for fraction. Okay? The word rational expression is just a fraction. We're going to add and subtract fractions, or better yet, let's call them rational expressions. Okay? So again, you have to have a common denominator. So I'm going to I put that up there. I'm going to highlight it. I mean, that seems obvious, but some kids forget that. So you have to have a common denominator. You cannot add or subtract without a common denominator. Okay? So that's what makes it so hard. So example 1. Not too bad. They already have a common denominator, right? So if they have a common denominator, let's just write it down. X plus 1, right? They have a common denominator, just write it down. Just like we would be doing fractions. Just like this example here, they already have a common denominator, just wrote it down, right? Okay, then just add the numerators. So I'd go 2x plus 4, which you can't really add 2x plus 4, so it's just 2x plus 4, okay? Are we done? Probably. If I could factor and cancel, I would. Does that make sense? But in this case, if I factored it, I have a 2 times an x plus 2 over an x plus 1. It doesn't really do you much good. So I'm just going to keep either one of these answers as fine. It didn't do me any good to factor. Had I been able to factor and cancel, I would have. And that would have been like reducing fractions, right? That would have been like reducing, okay? Okay, now, example 2. Well, let's take a look at example 2. Well, they already have a common denominator, right? So, just going to write that down. And then I'm going to add the numerators, 6x plus 24. This time I think factoring might help me, okay? This fraction might reduce, okay? So I think it might reduce. Let's check it out. I'm going to factor first. And I'm going to go ahead and get a 6 times an x plus 4. Aha! This will reduce. Okay, it will reduce, right? And this is so if I cancel, right? Cancel, cancel. It reduces all the way down to just plain old 6. And that's my answer. Not too hard. So when it factors and cancel, it's like reducing your fraction. That's all it is. This is the same stuff you learned in 6th grade. It's the exact same stuff. Okay, example 3. So I'm going to subtract. Now, right off the bat, I can't subtract because I do not have a common denominator. So I'm going to make it. So here's the way I like to teach it. It's like Sesame Street, okay? You can do this. What does this guy have that this one doesn't? So let's give it a 3x, right? But you have to multiply top and bottom by 3x. The reason you do both top and bottom, I want you to know this. This is an important thing for calculus. The reason we do both top and bottom the same thing is we've multiplied by 1. We have multiplied by 1, and when we multiply by 1, you don't change the value of the fractions. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, by multiplying by 1, you don't change the value. Okay, and the same thing here. What does this one have that this one doesn't? The 7. So we multiply this one by 7 over 7. Again, you're multiplying by 1. So it doesn't change the value of the term. So, okay, let's see what I've got. So then, my common denominator is a 21x, right? Does it seem easy so far? Okay, not bad. Up above in the numerators, I'll have a 28 minus a 6x squared. Can't do anything with it, really can't. I could factor out maybe a 2. But that's not going to help, okay? So if I do factor, it won't help, so that's as far as I'm going to go with it. Good enough, okay? Easy? Okay, you guys ready to turn the page? All right, now, example 4. All right, example 4 is going to take a little bit more work, but I can handle it. So again, this has an x minus 2. Think of it as a single thing, x minus 2. Don't think of it as an x. Don't think of this as an x and a subtract 2. It's an x minus 2. That's what it has. This has, in its denominator, an x plus 8. Don't think of it as an x or an 8. Think of it as an x plus 8. Does that make sense? So I'm going to multiply this one by an x minus 2 over an x minus 2. Okay? And I'll multiply this fraction by an x plus 8 over a x plus 8, right? All right, let's see what kind of mess I have. Well, right off the bat, I have a common denominator. And my common denominator is x plus 8 over x minus 2. Okay? Now the numerator, I'm actually going to try and do some simplification so I can go ahead and put it together. So I will distribute. I'll get a 15x plus, let's see, 15 times 8, I should be able to do that in my head, but I'm tired, so I won't. 120 plus a 3x minus 6, okay? And now I can do a little bit more simplification, right? My common denominator, I'm going to leave it as my x plus 8 times my x minus 2. And my numerator, how about an 18x plus 114, right? Yeah, it won't do. We can't do anything with it. It won't factor. Well, you could factor out a 2. That's about it. And that is, can't do anything with it. So there's my answer. Okay, not too bad. Not too bad. Okay, now last but not least. So in example 5, if I factor first, it's going to help. So I'm going to factor first. Only the denominators. Okay, only denominators. Before I go on, hey, yes, you can. Okay. Now, only the denominators. Sometimes you might have an opportunity to factor the top or the numerators, but you don't want to factor the numerators because you want to be able to add things. Does that make sense? Don't factor the tops ever until you're done. Don't factor the tops until you're done because you're going to want to add the tops. Does that make sense? But if you factor the denominators, it helps you get a common denominator. So, all right, let me factor this. So I'm going to have a 3x over a 2x plus 1 plus a 10 over, let's see, this is going to be a 2x, x, right? I'm going to have a 3 and a 1. Put my 3 here and my 1 here. I'm going to have a positive and a negative, okay? So all I've done, all I did was took and factored this into that, okay? That's all I've done. Now, common denominator. Well, they both have a 2x plus 1. This has an x minus 3, so the first fraction needs the x minus 3. So let's make sure it gets a x minus 3 over an x minus 3. Okay, how am I doing? Does this seem pretty easy? Okay, if you've never learned fractions, then maybe not, but you know. Now, I'm going to simplify. I do know my common denominator. Let's just write that down. My common denominator is my x minus 3 times my 2x plus 1, right? Now, in the numerator, all right, let's do this. I'm going to multiply that and that. So I'm going to get a 3x squared, 3x times x, minus a 9x, 3x times 3, okay? Plus my 10. Okay, now if this factors, will it factor?
Yep.
Does it factor?
1 times.
Boy, does this factor? I don't know if this factors. I don't know if this factors. If it does, it'd be great, but I don't know if this factors. I'm just going to try it real quick. 3x, x. Let me just try it. 10 can be a 2 and a 5. They're both negative. So no, that's not going to do it. 2, 5, 15, and 2. That's not going to do it. Okay, I don't think it factors. Doesn't matter. Okay, so if it doesn't factor, we're done. All right, we're done. All right, I've got your journal. I don't think we need to look at the journal. I think we just need to look at the homework. And that's about all I have for today. What do you think?